Hello, my name is Catlin Ray, and I'm an associate attorney at the Law Office of Kelly Y. Allen, and today I would like to talk to you about the characterization of property in North Carolina. A lot of people, when they realize that they're going to go through a divorce, their first question is, well, what's going to happen to my property? The process of property division in North Carolina is called equitable distribution, and during the equitable distribution process, all property must be characterized. There are 4 different property characterizations in North Carolina that I will now review with you. The first property characterization is separate property. This is either property that an individual owns before the marriage or property received during the marriage as either a gift or inheritance from a third party. One question that people have is, let's say hypothetically someone owns a house before the marriage, and then let's say during the marriage that separate property house increases in value. Well, that property increase is actually still separate property. Let's say hypothetically, however, that property increases in value, but the reason for the increase is because the couple puts in marital funds to perform repairs on the home. Well, the fact that marital assets were put in to help make the property value increase means that increase in value is actually marital property. And that brings us to the next property classification, which is marital property. And marital property is all presently owned property a couple acquires during the course of the marriage. There is a presumption in North Carolina that all property acquired during the marriage is marital property, but that presumption is rebuttable. Interestingly, that rebuttable presumption does not apply to debts acquired during the marriage. If one person wants to argue that a debt is marital, they are going to have to prove that debt was incurred for the joint benefit of the parties. The third type of property classification in North Carolina is divisible property, which is changes in the value of any of the couple's marital assets after the date of separation, and that is either an increase or a decrease in that property value. The final classification of property in North Carolina is mixed property, and that is when one asset is a mixture of both marital and separate property. An example of this would be a bank account. Let's say, hypothetically, that you have a bank account where you deposited your earnings from your job before your marriage. Well, those earnings are separate property. But then, after you get married, let's say that you continue to deposit your checks into that same account. Well, now you're commingling marital assets with your separate property. Once a party proves that the marital assets were going into that account, it is then the other party's duty to trace the assets to show that separate property still exists in the account. Tracing property can be extremely difficult, and if someone is unable to trace that property and prove that there are still separate assets in that account, the entire account becomes marital property. Clearly, this is very complex, and it's really important that if you are going through the equitable distribution process, to contact an attorney who will be able to help you identify your property, characterize it, and ensure that your separate property stays separate and protected, and that all marital assets and divisible property are properly distributed. Thank you.